What's up, everybody? We're here. End of the welcome to Puff Puff class number 12. Context for the what did I even for like the visual image that's on here is did I even title this one? I don't even remember. Damn, I forgot already. But yeah, no, I'm working on this. The title for it, I don't know about the title, but the image that's included in there is a picture of Roronoa Zoro from One Piece training. I always loved his like training methods because it's always just like so over the top, very like Rock Lee-esque. And I'm in the middle of like a final push towards the end of the year. I have an 8 to 10 page paper due on Monday. I have a 20 to 25 page paper due not this coming Sunday, but next Sunday. So just going to be doing a lot of writing, talking out loud about my ideas, trying to piece them together. Yeah, so that's basically what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to start with the paper, the 8 to 10 pager that's due on Monday. Going to try and get that done first. And I've been like brainstorming about these ideas for a while. We've turned in like abstracts and stuff and gotten some feedback. And yeah, just thinking about how I want to go about structuring this paper. And it's not very like linear. I kind of jump around a lot and try to figure out exactly what it is that I'm trying to say, which is difficult to like coalesce until I feel like the pressure. At least that's how it works for me. And yeah, so I'm gonna get started doing that and then talk to y'all about like the paper and stuff as I start to build it and start to put it together. So the general idea for the 8 to 10 pager, it's a poetry class, poetics. The point was to pick a poem and then analyze it in whatever way we so choose. And I'm looking at the Arjuna Vishad Yoga from the Bhagavad Gita. So there's an ancient Indian epic called the Mahabharata. Within the Mahabharata, it's the way that it's structured is like frame tales within frame tales, narratives within narratives. Think like Scheherazade, 1001 Nights, 1001 Nights Tales, and stories within stories within stories, Inception style. And one of the frame narratives within the context of the Mahabharata is the Bhagavad Gita, which takes place on the eve of the Battle of Kurukshetra between the Kaurav clan and the Pandav clan. So these two clans are cousins, and they grew up together. There's a lot of like contentious. Not just there's been a lot of contention since like childhood with these clans. There's developed into outright animosity. The Kauravs kind of like swindled the Pandavas out of their kingdom, I think, more than once. Yudhishthira, the oldest Pandav, has like a weakness for gambling. They all have like vices and stuff that come up later. But they basically get told like, yo, you guys gotta go like fuck off for like a decade plus, and then you guys can come back and we'll just like we'll give you your shit back, more or less. We'll give you your kingdom back when you show up. So they do the thing, they come back, and they're like, yo, can we run, can we just get our shit back? And the Kauravs are mostly like fuck no, eat a dick type shit. Turns into okay, now we're gonna have like this war. We're gonna bring in celestial sides. It's very much like the Iliad, and that very common to the Iliad as well. Within the frame tales, gods are involved, demigods are involved. It's just very, very tension-ridden conflict that's been building for generations and generations. That has so many implications and storylines within storylines that make it even more intricate. And so the Bhagavad Gita takes place with the middle brother of the Pandavas. Arjun is walking on the battlefield, more or less, just like getting ready for shit to pop off. And the forces are all lined up, and they're kind of they have like there's a lot of talk about war etiquette And so they're just kind of like walking around, you know, meaning like in the text and in the Mahabharata, there's a lot of like, you know, shit you do, shit you don't do type of shit. And so it's you know, similar to much ancient warfare. It is not a question of like winning, but it's a question of winning while adhering to these proper customary rites of war. And that's why they're just like lined up on either side, just kind of waiting. And while waiting for the war to start, Arjun is basically like walking up and down, and you know, the way the Arjun Vishad Yoga is structured, which is the first part of the Bhagavad Gita. It's Arjun Vishad Yoga, which means like Vishad translates to like despondency or sorrow or despair and such. So it's basically like, and there's yoga attached to it. So it's like a yoga of despondency of Arjuna. There's something related to Arjun where he's able to, where like there's like a ritualistic, like kind of martial aspect to the, or like a spiritual aspect process to just the despondency one feels. Specifically in the context of Arjuna, the despondency he feels when he's walking on the battlefield and he sees all these people lined up who he's grown up with, you know, grandsires, sires, cousins, friends, compatriots, former compatriots. And he just sees like all of this happening and is over, you know, it kind of slips from reason, this like detached reason that is often touted as being the highest level of I guess like virtue, to becoming embroiled in this like grief that comes with being with like a reawareness of the connection and relationality that he has with people that he has to go to war with and like fight to the death. And it's just really interesting poem to me because, like, I mean, you know, there's like the obvious connection, we share a name. I've thought about that for a long time and like what that means or what that could mean necessarily. Not like it's like what are the kinds of things that I can learn from that kind of story. And I can learn it from all stories, but it's very interesting that that's like my namesake. And I guess I'm very interested in that whole, and you know, having like trying to figure out how to go about having contentious relations with people that you love and try to understand what can be done with that sorrow that you feel when you realize that you're being put in a position where you have to act, and in your acting you're going to crash against these former loved ones, and you're going to create all, you know, Arjun is very scared that by doing so it's going to like be the end of the world as they know it, which it is, you know. But that doesn't mean that the world on the other side cannot be a better, I guess. Like the weird part is that it's not even about can it be a better place or a worse place after the war is over. He's in that Schrodinger's cat place where he's like, oh shit, like I'm just scared. Like I'm grief stricken, I'm scared, I don't want to do this. This is so fucked up. You want to think about like, you know, Paul Atreides in Dune, or Eren Yeager in Attack on Titan, where they're like, oh my god, I have to do this like horrible thing. But like, what else can I do? Like I'm being forced into a situation where I have to act, and the actions that I take are going to like do this thing that are going to lead to these outcomes that are not the world I knew before. And I don't know, it's just really interesting, especially because Eren, Paul, and Arjun all have this benefit of maybe not Arjuna directly because he has it through Krishna, but like through Krishna he gets an understanding of like time as like a non-linear thing, and that kind of assuages a lot of the like that, and along with like a lot of other philosophies, a lot of the other philosophical teachings that are espoused in the Gita are kind of enough to assuage his guilt and his doubt. But one of the things I like about, you know, this section is that it reminds me of the sections in like Dune and Attack on Titan where Eren and Paul Paul and Eren respectively are very much conflicted over the fact that like doing the right thing by them means doing the wrong thing by other people, and that's really hard to figure out. The way the Gita continues to go around this is like the concept of like like detached action, where like you work towards planting the tree and growing the tree without worrying if you're about the tree bearing fruit or what fruit it might bear and such, which is like an interesting concept from when I was younger, because it helps to really push you towards an understanding of how to deal with uncertainty. But what's really weird about it is like the knowledge of darkness that is going to be kind of beset on the world as a result of your detached action. And maybe not like darkness set on the world, but certainly like bad shit's gonna happen. Like when the Gita, like near the end of the Mahabharata, like the lineages of the Pandavas and the Kauravas are pretty much decimated. And there's like, I believe it's like I think it's Arjun's, no, I forget, Aswatham or something. Am I correct in assuming last person alive? I think it was us. I forget, I think it's, I'm mistaking the name, but I think that I know the Pandavas go into like exile, and by the time it's over, because this fight only lasts like 18 days, and it's just like, it's super fucked. Parikshit. So, Kripa, Aswatham. Yeah, okay. 5 Pandavas: Krishna, Satyaki, Aswatham, Kripa, Yuyutsu, Kritavarma. 11 major warriors survived the war, and then they dip, more or less. So, like everybody gets butt fucked. This entire like generations of this clan get totally slaughtered out, and there's like only a handful of people who survive in the end. And it's like, was it worth it? I don't know. That's what one of the weird parts about it, right? Is like Arjuna really laments what is going to happen when he goes through with this thing. It's like, oh my god, the ritual, like we're not gonna. I mean, some of it is kind of like, like a conservative desire to hold on to, and I can use that word meaning to conserve. There's like a preservationist, conservationist idea to what Arjun laments, which is like, we're gonna lose out on the connections between family. We're gonna lose out on like the rituals and the rites and stuff that we do together, because we'll be there to do that. Like, family unit's gonna fall apart, society's gonna fall apart. All these people are gonna die. I'm gonna have to kill them. I have to live with that if I win, or I die by their hands. Like, it's all a fucked situation. So the whole poem is just an awareness, like a growing awareness of the individual when looking out at the world and kind of realizing that, oh my god, there is nothing I can do to like change the tide of events. There's only what I can do to uncloud my mind. It's the only thing I have like any sort of control over. But that control itself is not even exercised within the Arjuna Vishad Yoga portion of the Bhagavad Gita. Why I like it a lot is because it's just a part of it where, you could look at the war as a stand-in for so many things, like capitalist accumulation, fucking theocratic societies or civilizations. Like, it's just whatever the big bad is, and you kind of, that realization of like, oh fuck, I can't really like do anything, and when I do, like, the things I can do are going to fuck people, and those people are people possibly that I care about. And if I don't care about them, then either way, they're just like me. They're dealing with some shit they're trying to figure out. Krishna goes into like the karmic and consequences of like not acting, of not doing. And I don't know, I just don't, when I think about that, I think about it like, oh yeah, you're kind of forcing the conversation in a very particular way towards action that is geared in this sense that like God is telling, like, you know, Krishna being the incarnation of Vishnu, being like a representation of the Trimurti, like being like a deity figure explaining to you, hey, do X, Y, and Z, because like this is how you do the quote unquote capital R right thing. This is how you do something that is right all the way around. And I don't know, I'm just thinking about like, and so there's like all this stuff that's being said in there, and I'm kind of analyzing the poetics of it. So I'm not going to be analyzing the poetics and specifically in Sanskrit. I'm going to be analyzing them in English. There's definitely like that translation bias that may come from like switching over, and then a discussion of like, you know, what is being said, why it's being said that way. I'm trying to figure out exactly like how to go about doing this. So there's like a couple of things to think about where like, so I have to introduce the Bhagavad Gita. There has to be some sort of like introduction to the Gita itself, you know, because I need to be able to explain like what this is to people who have never read this before, provide some kind of adequate context. Upon doing that, then there's like a movement, so, you know, establish, I'm going to write these down as I go. So like establish context and content of the Bhagavad Gita. After I establish context and content of the Bhagavad Gita, I can address the problematics inherent to discussing the text via translation. Kind of like, you know, assuage the translation problem by iterating assuage the translation problem by presenting the version, by presenting Eknath Eswanan's version of, let's see, translation of the Gita, highlights his kind of scholarship or his scholarly merit. So kind of add that ethos in there and be like, yo, this guy's like an Indian guy, he's pretty well read, he's making this translation after all these other translations have been there. I want to focus on this particular translation because moving towards all these different translations creates like a great deal of like I guess I could talk about like what it's like in original Sanskrit versus like what it's like how the sentences are structured. So that might be interesting. As far as the translation problem, presenting Eknath Eswaran's translation of the Gita, highlight his scholarly merit as connect his scholarly merit to the merit of the translation to be studied. Okay, so as far as the translation problem, by presenting Eknath Eswaran's translation of the Gita, connect the scholarly merit to the merit of the translation to be studied. And then, so talk a little bit about, talk a little bit about okay, to the translation being studied, and then I move into like, before I establish the context of the Bhagavad Gita, I guess I just want to, like, what is the poetics doing? What are the poetics doing? Like when I read it, there seems to be, I think I wrote a lot of this stuff down. Let me just see. I gotta find the note. I think it might be in a Google note, Google Doc. Let's see here. 289. No. Oh. Excuse me. Oh yeah, there it is. 289 final project draft. Okie dokie. Boop-a-doop-a-doo, boop-a-doo-doo, boop-a-doo. Okay, so let's see here. There's... What did I say? So there's all these like poetic devices that work to different effect. Dialogue, leitmotif, polyphony. There are also some other things. I think I wrote them down in a different note. Let's see. So there's like, dialogue. There's I guess I could talk about the emotional intensity, the ethical reflection, the narrative tension that builds up. But yeah, I need to have contextual understanding, detailed observations, character analysis, themes and motifs, narrative techniques, interconnections. There's a lot to discuss here. To try to do these, identify contrasting elements, analyze language and tone, contextualize the passage, explore ethical and philosophical dilemmas, investigate Krishna's well, I'm not really going to go into Krishna's response, that comes later. Consider the resolution, eventual resolution, its implications for the overall narrative, how the contradictions introduced are resolved or reconciled in subsequent chapters or teachings. Yeah, so I guess I'm just thinking about like how do I want to go about it. So once I establish context, then I can provide like, okay, set the stage for understanding the dialogue, and then start going into closer readings, maybe looking into characters. How does that translate to themes? How are these themes produced in like narrative techniques? There's like a lot to consider here, and I guess I'm just thinking about like how do I go about structuring that. So definitely context first, establishment of, address the problematics inherent to discussion the text via translation, assuage the translation problem by presenting this person's translation as worthy of study, and then start working into close observation, starting with the beginning. Stuff I have already is like a setting out the poem beginning with a description of the blind king Dhritarashtra by his advisor Sanjay, moving into voice of Dhritarashtra's eldest son Duryodhan. There's like a movement from voice to voice to voice that's already occurring that reflects like a layering of polyphony endemic to the poem's place within a poem, the poem's place within a poem within a poem. There's a creative dissonance being spoken repeatedly into existence, and there's a roll call of illustrious leaders and warriors on both sides of the war. Pregnant pause in the narrative as Duryodhan discusses the protection on either side of the war, highlighting his superiority in his martial position as a result of both Kane's grandsire occupying a position in leadership and not on the side of the Pandavas. And so I guess I gotta just make sure that when I'm doing these kinds of things and I'm drawing like conclusions about a particular part of the work, like not drawing conclusions, I need to avoid drawing conclusions or say like super definitive statements, and instead look at like the verbiage that is part of the text. So if I like look up, where's my AS1N translation? Yeah, okay. So there's 47 verses or shlokas. So I could have like a discussion about those as well. The translation is pretty cool. Sanjay, tell me what happened at Kurukshetra, the field of Dharma, where my family and the Pandavas gathered to fight. Where like the original, I'm gonna try my best. I'm not good at Sanskrit, and by not good I mean like not at all. But it's like Dhritarashtra uvacha dharma kshetra kurukshetra samaveta yutsava mamaka pandavashkeva kimakurvata Sanjay. So that translates to, direct translation is, King Dhritarashtra said, in the place of pilgrimage, in the place named Kurukshetra, assembled desiring to fight my party, sons, the sons of Pandu, and certainly what did they do, O Sanjay? And what that comes out to be is Oh Sanjay, tell me what happened at Kurukshetra, the field of Dharma, where my family and the Pandavas gathered to fight. It's interesting. There's like, the way that, I don't know, direct translation is always so hard, but even the way the sentences are structured kind of points to like the linguistics and like syntactical differences between the construction of like Sanskrit um, and English. And I'm pretty sure there's like there's like this website that I can go to where they actually like are able to play the sound, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and then I can go. This one has like a Shankar, like Adi Shankar's like commentary on each one as well. But he didn't comment on this one at all. Anyways, yeah, so it's very, very interesting. Having surveyed the forces of Pandavas arrayed for battle, Prince Duryodhana approached his teacher Drona and spoke, "Oh, my teacher, look at this mighty army of the..." Yeah. So they start going into like, look at all these badasses who are all lined up, and then, hey, look right there. There's Krishna and Arjuna standing in a mighty chariot, yoked with white horses. That's dope. They're blowing conches. They're ripping. It's going good. And then, having seen your son's forces set in their place and the fighting about to begin, Arjuna spoke these words to Krishna. "O Krishna, drive my chariot between the two armies. I want to see those who desire to fight with me. With whom will this battle be fought? I want to see those assembled to fight for Duryodhana, those who seek to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra by engaging in war." And thus Arjuna spoke, and Sri Krishna driving his chariot. So he drives the chariot, he looks at all of them. And then Arjuna, standing between the two armies, saw fathers and grandfathers, teachers, uncles, and brothers, sons and grandsons, in-laws and friends, seeing his kinsmen established in opposition. He is overcome by sorrow. Despairing, he spoke these words, "O Krishna, I see my own relations here anxious to fight. My limbs grow weak, my mouth is dry, my body shakes, and my hair is standing on end. My skin burns, and the Bogandiva has slipped from my hand. I'm unable to stand, my mind seems whirling. These signs bode evil for us. I do not see that any good can come from killing our relations in battle. I have no desire for victory or for a kingdom or pleasures. Of what use is a kingdom or pleasure or even life, if those for whose sake we desire these things, teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, uncles, in-laws, grandsons, and others with family ties, are engaging in this battle, renouncing their wealth and their lives. Even if they were to kill me, I would not want to kill them, not even to become ruler of the three worlds, how much less for the earth alone. What satisfaction would we find in killing their sons? We become sinners by slaying these men, even though they are evil. They're related to us. We should not kill them. How can we gain happiness by killing members of our own family? They're overpowered by greed and see no evil in destroying families or injuring friends. We see these evils. Why shouldn't we turn away from this sin?" Then he starts talking about like the kind of societal structures that decline if this happens. When a family declines, ancient traditions are destroyed. With them are lost the spiritual foundations for life, and the family loses its sense of unity. Where there's no unity, women become corrupt, and with the corruption of women, society is plunged into chaos. That's fucked up. Social chaos is hell for the family and those who have destroyed the family as well. It disrupts the process of spiritual foundations of family and society would be destroyed by these terrible deeds which violate the unity of life. It is said that those whose family dharma has been destroyed dwell in hell. This is a great sin. We are prepared to kill our own relations out of greed for the pleasures of the kingdom. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to attack with me in battle and kill me, unarmed and unresisting. Overwhelmed by sorrow, Arjuna spoke these words, and casting away his bow and his arrows, he sat down in his chariot in the middle of the battlefield. That's fire. This dude is blowing conches and ready to rip shit. And then he looks across and he's like, this is so fucked up. Like, if we do this, aren't we just like destroying any semblance of what it is that we're fighting for by engaging in this warfare in the first place? The fact that it's gotten this far, isn't it over? There's just so much going on there. There's like so much conflict. There's like there's a physical embodiment of that kind of comes up. There's I don't know, you kind of focus on like, we're set up here to fight this war, but like we're doing this all for like what is right, but like doing this is literally wrong. And why are we doing it? For what, material things? It doesn't even matter. What is the point of life if those for whose sake we desire these things are engaging in this battle? It kind of comes down to wealth and lies, and there's like some stuff about wealth here I don't like. There's stuff about women I don't really like, but generally speaking, is very interesting. Anyways, I gotta start actually doing like writing and shit. So I'm gonna stop talking and I'm just gonna try to like figure out what the fuck I'm trying to do with this shit. Okay, join me. Let's go. Hi, baby. Oh, yeah. I'm okay. Most virtuous steadfastness. Yeah. It's okay, I don't care. Yeah, work job with this. That would be funny. What is happening right now? Such a baby. Good job, Poe. Love you. Yeah? Was it bad? Everything? No. We should give him his meds. We should give him his meds like before we let it eat. Maybe let it sit for like an hour and then have it. Okay. You need me to do anything? Yeah? Okie dokie. And we back. Be back. there a way to do word count in Note? Because that would be fire. I kind of just like the freestyle nature of writing in the Note app. Is there... Top of the screen, turn on a word count. Tap word count. Oh! Wait, how? I didn't know that. Oh, this is on Pages. Whoa, it tastes like cotton candy. That tastes exactly like cotton candy. Like carnival cotton candy. Like good, right? I know, but isn't it fire though? Hey, bud. Sometimes we can't be who we used to be. We can be better and different and more fun. You did. Isn't that nice? Good. No, we can hang out with her. No, she wants to go with mom. Because she loves her mama. I don't need Pages, bro. I need this shit. I need Notes, dog. Word count using Apple Notes. If you tell me copy and paste into something else, I'm gonna fucking stab you. Oh yeah, great. Paste the notes into Pages for iPad. This is so fucking stupid. That is so dumb. Word count does not... Oh, wait, does allow for sharing to Apple Notes? You can start crafting in Word... Man. Settings, text editing, word count. Oh! Okay, I think we found an answer. We got ourselves an answer right here. God damn it, they're like third-party apps. They're literally like, there is no way to do this on an iPhone. Okay, well, let's find out, I guess. Let's find out where we're going with this. Because I would like to know, like, generally what is that, like a chill 250 or some shit? Probably, I'm gonna say 150. 273? That's not bad, bro. That's just freestyling. Hell yeah. And I mean, for clarification, you know, it's like 500 words. 12 points, single space, Times New Roman is about 500 words per page for a full single, 12 point, single space, Times New Roman, and I need 8 to 10 pages. So I'm like like a fifth of the almost, well, let's not overstep. A tenth of the way done in just a couple of like 20 minutes or something. I don't know how long I've been here. Not that long. It takes a lot to think about it, and then the writing comes after the thinking. Bro, I will say this a million times over. The thinking is the hard part of so much stuff. Like a lot of people like to, and you know, like I always like to draw correlations to exercise because it helps me think about it a lot. But you can only get good at, you can only get fit or strong or whatever it is your physical goals are. You can only get there by doing things, right? But you have to have a plan. You gotta have thought about it so much beforehand. How do I eat? How do I train? Everything from like the stretch at the bottom of like a calf raise to the alignment of feet and like the, you know, the stacking of joints during like a squat and stuff. So much thought has to be given to these little things in order to get those like big gains later. People will just be like, it's the workout program. It's just, you know, I just showed up and, or not the workout program. I just showed up and I just did the work. But you had to think about doing the work, and you had to adjust and adapt. John Danaher, famous jiu-jitsu coach, talks a lot about that with his prodigious student Gordon Ryan. Hope you feel better soon. But the idea of adaptive persistence or persistent adaptation is like being in that liminal state, you know, that constant liminal space. I mean, Yolo's border thinking talks a lot about this. Baba talks a lot. Homie Baba talks about this with like liminality. Spivak with, well, not Spivak necessarily, but subalternity. But like the idea that you're gonna be like, you gotta be in this place where you gotta think about shit a lot, and then you gotta do shit, and then you gotta think about whether you're doing shit the right way, and then you gotta do shit about changing the way that you think about doing shit so that you can do things better. It's such a constant feedback loop of intense critical analysis. And yeah, when it comes to writing, I try to think myself into these places where, oh yeah, I'm just gonna sit down and I'm gonna write. And honestly, like, the inspiration comes from like actually setting things up and doing things. Like, if I want to get something done, it's going to get done a lot more if I'm doing it on this stream, because I feel like it holds me accountable. And then I'll do this thing where I'll kind of vacillate between wanting to do the stream and not wanting to do the stream. So I'm like, oh, I don't have enough time, or I have other stuff to do, and if it's not like a super long stream, then like it doesn't even matter, and that's just stupid. I got to get that shit out of my head and just start putting up more and more episodes of this shit as often as I can whenever I feel like studying away from my fiance. And like, you know, because I like to study with her and do stuff also, but if I'm trying to do stuff on my own, this is probably the best way to do it, because I'm going to be like putting myself in this mode of practice where I'm going to have to do something. But what the doing it does is that the increase in like accountability by having this like nebulous audience outside forces me to like do stuff. And sometimes it's not even do stuff, but to look like I'm doing stuff. And like sometimes just looking like you're doing something leads to doing things. Like starting this out, talking about all these different things I was interested in, talking about the different things that I'm writing about, and then looking up all these, you know, try to figure out like how to incorporate the feedback that I received from my professor about like where I should go with the project into like what I'm trying to say and what do I want to do. And instead of, you know, and it's cool to have outlines too, but for this kind of stuff, when I'm working on poetics, I don't necessarily need to do like an outline type situation. I just need to have thoughts about stuff. And I can come up with fuckloads of thoughts about stuff. And then when I have the thoughts, then, you know, there's like different ways to go about the writing where you can kind of have the outline and then put things in the outline to expand, because the linear trajectory of thought is the most important thing. But in this case, it seems like one of the most important things that I could do is like really like dial into like the poetics of like what is being said in like these specific lines, and like really close reading of like the relationship between terms. Like one of the things I just went off on right now was the title of the first poem in the Bhagavad Gita, the Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So yoga is typically, what did I write? So I'm just gonna read this to you guys and see what you think, or if you think, or whatever, you know, or not if you think, but you know what I mean. Maybe you don't know what I mean. I'm trying to say that I'm just going to put this out there regardless of whether people are listening to it or not, for the sake of interacting with the text in a way that I'm talking to an audience, that whether they're not there, I'm going to keep talking like they're there until they're either there one day, whether here or otherwise. So yoga is typically used to denote some sort of practice or discipline that lends itself to a greater understanding of one's mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual being, and yet the title of this poem is focused not on a devotional practice or meditative discipline, but rather a yoga of Vishad, a Sanskrit term that translates roughly to despair, sorrow, or despondency, not in general, but as it is specifically applied to the character of Arjuna. For the majority of the Mahabharata, Arjuna is hailed as being among the most virtuous warriors in all the physical and celestial realms, with a steadfastness and purity of heart that is often unmatched. He's a warrior who never wavers in his honor or duty and does not indulge in emotional outbursts as they may cloud his battle-honed clarity. And yet, at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, a seminal text of philosophical wisdom, we are not presented with wisdom but utter despair. The symbolic suggestion is then made that the root of wisdom itself is not some sort of reconciliatory state of equanimity, as the Gita goes on to elucidate, but is instead the overwhelming sorrow that arises from contradictions of existence that predicate a sense of despair. Therefore, from the very outset of the poem, we are forced to contend with a yoga of despondency, not of devotion or duty or ethics, but of deep and unsettling sadness, most crucially of the individual rather than the collective society at hand. This is not a glimpse into the universe, but into the mind of one person within which multiplicities exist to the degree of the infinite. That kind of feels good. Okay, we're just gonna keep going. We're just gonna, you know, and if I stop, that's okay. I just gotta be okay with, dude, even this, I just gotta keep reminding myself to show up. And it's hard to show up, and I forget, and time goes by, and I think I'm being steady on it, and then I'm not. It's a big part of why I want to be an academic, is because I think that this sort of, I need something to foster that kind of discipline. Because if left to my own devices, doing creative stuff is just not as fun on my own or without an audience to like engage and interact with it. But when it comes to doing like stuff for myself, like physically, I'm very good at doing that for myself. But I want to be able to do that with this too. Is like eventually get to that's the point, right? Eventually get to the point of where like doing these reps and having to meet these project deadlines and doing this shit puts me in a zone of like, oh yeah, this is what I do. Whereas like being a student up until my master's thesis, I was pretty like up until my master's program, I was pretty like, yeah, this is chill. Like everything's been pretty much been chill. I've been able to figure my way out. It wasn't until like my master's thesis that I was like 23, and I was just like fucking fried on like writing and researching and all this. And that was a 20-page paper. I'm gonna write a 20-page paper in like 11 days. I don't have a shadow of a doubt in my mind. Not only does it have to get done because it's meeting a deadline, but I can do that. And it's a doable thing. I've got, you know, and when I got my master's when I was 23, I stopped going to school I didn't get into the program at UC Riverside until I was 30. So that's like 7 years off. I just worked in restaurants and like tutored and just lived my life. Like, very happy I did that. So fucking fulfilled. It's the best thing that could have happened to me is to just go in the real world, live, find my way back to the path in a way that it was right for me. Like I always wanted to do it, but I was like, I just didn't. I don't know. Like I didn't have that thing. I didn't have that dog in me. You know what I'm saying? But I got that dog in me now, and I'm just I love getting better at this stuff. It's not always comfortable. It's not always. It doesn't always feel smooth, but that's why you just gotta take your time, be cool with where you're at, and keep trying to increase the level. Be okay with where I'm at, and also keeping on trying to increase the level at which I am trying to perform. And honestly, this kind of stuff helps me to, like, if I keep doing this kind of shit, I could easily like work on writing stuff outside of school and class. And I think that part of it is like making that my job makes it harder to do for fun, and I want to keep this shit fun. This shit is what I gotta do. This is really like, this is the gateway through which I attempt to actualize not an image of myself, but a being of myself that like every version of me up to now can look at it and be like, yeah, I fuck with that dude, you know? Okay, back to it. Wait. I gotta remember to stay focused on the poetics right now. Yes. Really is tired. Really do not like. Japan, the blind ruler with an investment advisor creates an interesting juxtaposition that confounds. What am I trying to say? Staring at the computer makes you sleepy, bro. Fuck. Whew. Two pages. 2 out of 10, baby. Whew. I should. I have the timer up and I don't use it. Ugh. Aspect of Goes best in the form of Sanji. 32 syllable. Jackson, come on, let's go. Oh yeah, fuck, I forgot. this conflict and finds the cognitive dissonance. Is 11 and it's almost 3, so it's about a page and a pages and an hour and a half at 1.5 hours is 15 hours. got a single space. I count by single space pages because it makes it easier for me to not trip about the content. Space, or like the bigness of it all. Bigness, largeness, magnitude. And yeah, it's weird after writing all that, your brain kind of fries and slows down to try to remember how to talk. But going good so far. Some cool ideas. I'm just focusing on close reading and getting a lot of close reading information out as I move through the poem. And then I'm going to try to see, like, you know, based on the things that I'm finding concurrently with each other, like, how do I want that to move forward into, like what can I try to say about this text? Because right now I'm focusing predominantly on the text, not necessarily engaging with, like, a ton of scholarship around it. There doesn't seem to be a lot of scholarship around this particular part of the poem, and I think, like, what I'm going to do is basically maybe say something about capitalist accumulation as it's kind of supported by the eternal inequality that is set forth in the Gita. I mean, I want to focus on the Gita. A lot of it would be too big. But I focus on the Gita, and then I talk about how, like, you know, later in the poem, there's like so many considerations of what one can do to resign themselves to a level of equanimity in, you know, dealing with the overwhelming despondency and sorrow that comes with being in the world. And I think what's cool about this particular poem, this part of the Gita, is that it doesn't offer solutions, especially not in a way that's just like deal with it type of shit, just do it, don't worry about what happens afterwards. It just very much addresses, I think, the moment in a person's mind when you realize how incredibly incredibly in relation to most people you exist. You know, you can be some stuff that where people do it that's, you know, oh, that's a no-no. But you never really, for most people, the line is not so accurate. And it's interesting that in this most intense of conflicts that there still is that level of, I don't know what to do. I don't know that I don't even know that, like, carrying out this fight is, like, a good idea. So that's interesting. Things to think about. I'll be back later in the evening probably to do more of this. I'm going to go to the gym in a little bit. I have an interview with a tutoring or like a subbing company in New York, because I'm going to be living in New York from July 15th to, like, end of August. So I'm trying to work out there, teach and shit. So do something useful, productive, stay engaged, make some guap while I'm because you don't get fellowship money for the summer, and I want to go live in New York for a bit with my fiance, and it's gonna be cool. So I'll probably see y'all later this evening.